Anywho, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So every once in a while, I stumble on Twitter. I know it's not good for me. It's a very bad place full of very bad people. But every once in a while, I go there, and for some reason, I'm always shocked by the depths of human depravity. I mean, it's Twitter. I should be used to this by now. I really should. I should be used to the idea that there are people in the world who really should have been drowned at birth. And they all seem to have Twitter accounts. Yeah. Anywho. Now. I've been told that my being an atheist doesn't just mean I don't believe in the gods. It means other things. It has implications. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have any implications. It simply means I do not believe in the gods. I do not believe in Anubis. I do not believe in Zeus. I do not believe in Shiva or Jehovah. I do not believe in any of the gods. I just don't. And that's it. That's what atheism means. That's all it is. I just don't believe in the gods. Now, I've been told, however, that atheism requires me to be a nihilist, somebody who hates themselves and who thinks that their life is worthless. No, no, I don't have to hold any such belief. I am not a nihilist. I consider nihilism to be a failure of human creativity. It is the conclusion one reaches when one is unable to actually ask, what am I capable of? What are my abilities? What is my value and worth? When one's entire sense of identity has been beaten into oneself by a religion that teaches you that you are a miserable sinner and filthy rags and totally depraved and, of course, my favorite, deserving hellfire. Yeah. Now, it's interesting. Can you name for me the ideological position that teaches children that they are filthy rags and miserable sinners and deserving hellfire and totally depraved? Can you name that ideology? Because, well, it's not atheism. I'll tell you that right now. Because atheism doesn't tell you anything. It merely allows you to figure things out for yourself. Which is why, by and large, atheists tend to have pretty good self-esteem. And we get our self-esteem from our own achievements in life, not from riding on the coattails of somebody else. My self-esteem comes from my achievements. I don't need to look at Albert Einstein and say, he had a similar hairstyle to mine, so therefore I'm a genius just like him. I don't have to look at Muhammad Ali and say, there's a man with a slightly similar facial structure to mine, so I must be big and athletic and muscular too, just like him. Yeah. I don't have to do that. I can arrive at my own self-worth my own self-esteem, my own value as a person, as an individual, without the need to rely upon other people to do it for me. And of course, I recognize myself as a valid human being. And I do this while not believing in any gods. And I still don't know what the implications of atheism are. But I do know, again, that atheism doesn't teach me anything. All it does is allow me to figure things out for myself. And again, one of the most important things I did figure out for myself is that I am a valid human being. Funny how that works. Getting away from the one ideology that was hammered into me as a child that teaches me that I am a miserable sinner. Getting away from that ideology has allowed me to develop a sense of self-worth. Interesting. Yeah. Now, of course, not all atheists arrive at the same conclusions because, again, atheism isn't an ideology. It's a conclusion one arrives at. And that conclusion is simply, there are no gods. And what we do with this, again, is up to the individual atheist. Some people, admittedly, have decided that life is worthless without a God. These people are usually hardline Christian fundamentalists who have woken up to the realization that they were living a lie. And yeah, they wallow in despair for a while until they learn how to figure out their own value and worth as an individual. Yeah. But for those of us who were never part of that particular brand of Christianity, pardon me, well, yeah, a little bit gassy this morning. For those of us who never grew up with that particular brand of Christianity, who arrived at atheism after going through a period of not being a Christian, and so having the opportunity to overcome that conditioning, that self-loathing, that self-hatred. Having had the opportunity to overcome that, I never went through the dismal, depressed phase of, without Jesus, my life is worthless, period. I never went through that. I never had to go through that because I had this wonderful intervening 15-year period of being not a Christian, but not yet an atheist, in which I built a sense of self-worth that I've carried forward into atheism. And there are terrible people who are atheists. And most of them were terrible people when they were religious. I mean, let's be honest, Joseph Stalin was a terrible person when he was a Christian. Vladimir Beria, his henchman, was a horrible person as an atheist. He was also a horrible person as a deeply religious Jew and a rabbinical student. Yeah, Beria was a religious student. Yeah. And then there are compassionate and humane individuals who are good and decent and civilized, people like Albert Einstein, who was nominally Jewish as a child but grew up to be an atheist and remained a humanitarian his whole life. Yeah. And there's myself. I was a good person when I was a Christian, and I remained a good person through my Wiccan pagan phase into atheism. Yeah. Because my basic underlying character carried forward. Yeah. If you're afraid that without a religious belief you'll turn into a monster, it's probably because you've been brainwashed into believing that you are a monster. But there is a small chance that you might just be a monster. you might be a monster. I prefer not to think of you as a monster, but you might be a monster. You might indeed be exactly the kind of person that, without the fear of a vengeful God looming over you, you would be out raping and murdering and robbing. But if that's the truth, you're a psychopath. And you are a psychopath as a religious person. And arriving at atheism won't change anything, except that it'll take the leash off of you. So yes, please continue believing in whatever God it is that you imagine is holding you back from doing the things that come to you naturally. But remember that this is a you problem, not a me problem. As a person who is a decent human being, who has no inclination to rape and murder and rob, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. Funny how that works. Good people are good people regardless of religious belief or the lack thereof. Bad people are bad people regardless of religious belief or the lack thereof. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Adolf Hitler remained a lifelong Christian, and he remained a lifelong monster. Carl Sagan was an atheist for most of his life and was a decent person. It's funny how that works. Your character remains a part of you, regardless of your religious belief or lack thereof. Yeah. Funny how that works. So yeah, okay. I arrived at atheism about 25 years ago after 15 years of desperately clinging to the idea that there had to be a God, on top of 15 years of actually being a initially very devout Christian, but gradually a much more questioning Christian until I left Christianity and entered into the pagan Wiccan complex of religious thought. Yeah. And yes, this all came out of asking questions. You know, it's funny when your minister says, if you have questions, read the Bible. What he really means is read the few passages that are recommended. Don't start at the beginning and read your way through to the end, because if you do, you're going to realize just how fucked up this book really is. Yeah, but they often forget to say that. And so, yeah, people like me end up reading the Bible. We actually read it. We end up realizing that, no, that's a load of horse shit. That is a huge load of horse apples. Absolutely. Why did I believe this? What caused me to buy into this load of nonsense? Honestly. And once I understood that, yeah, I had been brainwashed as a child. Once I understood that, I was able to start breaking free. But I didn't want to live in a world without gods, because part of my conditioning was there has to be a God. There has to be some kind of a God. And I clung to that, even though I escaped from Christianity. I clung to the notion that there had to be a God. For another 15 years. Before finally arriving at atheism. 25 years ago. Yeah. So what are the odds of my returning to Christianity today? Well, none really. Damn few at least. I've pretty much figured out my own life. I've developed a healthy sense of self-worth. Yeah. I have self-respect, self-esteem, dignity. All things I didn't have when I was a Christian. All things that I had to build through the pagan Wiccan complex of religions. And, yeah, all things that I have retained in being an atheist. But what I have always carried forward from when I was a Christian through when I was a pagan into my being an atheist is basic human decency. Basic human decency. And if you lack basic human decency, as I said, that is a you problem, not a me problem. If you cannot trust yourself to not be raping and murdering and robbing without the threat of a big scary God looming over you, that's a you problem. As for myself, I have something called basic human decency. I have something called empathy, compassion, decency, innate morality as an evolved social trait to allow humans and other higher primates to survive by functioning in large groups. Yeah. Yeah, so anywho, that's all from me today. Take care, be well, stay safe. Love yous all. Love yous all. Okay. And my garden seems to be doing very nicely here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And down there, things are going nicely. Oh, what's that? Sunflower blossoms. And my chives don't seem to be doing well. But my oregano and my sage seem to be doing very nicely. Oh, yeah. My garden. My garden. Yeah, that's my garden.